Manning family is a very attractive family. You have Archie and his beautiful wife, Olivia, and their three boys, Cooper, Peyton, and Eli. You know, when you talk about football in America today, you're going to have somebody somewhere bring up the name Manning. The Manning family has three generations now, and it's recognized in the sports world as a dynasty. Archie and his wife Olivia are the first generation. Their sons, Cooper, Peyton, and Eli, represent the second generation. And today, grandson Arch Manning is making waves as a new Manning for the era. The story of how these remarkable individuals embraced football in high school, in college, and even professional ball is a story worth knowing. And it's worth knowing whether you're a fan of Ole Miss or you're a fan of just football in general. It's even worth knowing if you don't care at all about football. The human side of their story is truly remarkable. It's a story of amazing talent, no question, but it's also the story of family love passed down through generations for all the right reasons. I could have gone anywhere and everywhere and found something about the Mannings to be able to use for this review. I settled, though, on a book that was published in 2016. The name of it is The Mannings, The Fall and Rise of a Football Family. Lars Anderson wrote it, and Ballantine Books published it. This book is the best one that I've found that really brings the entire family into focus. It begins with Archie's mother and father, and that's key. And then after you understand where they came from, then you understand in more ways than one where Archie Manning came from. The book reads as though it's written by a member of the Manning family, and that's because it's just chock full of personal stories, anecdotes given to the author through the years or published through the years by the Mannings. These insights are invaluable because we need to try to figure out exactly how their dominance in football came to be. The title, The Fall and Rise of the Football Family, seems to be a contradiction. You would think it would be the rise and fall, but of course, they're still dominant, so it couldn't be that. But still, the fall and rise seems to be out of kilter. When you read the book, you find out that that is the perfect title. This is Lars Anderson. He is a New York Times best-selling author. He's had 12 really top books. Longtime writer for Sports Illustrated, which is sort of the Bible for sports. He's a member of the Department of Journalism and Creative Media at the University of Alabama, and his career spans both sports journalism and narrative nonfiction. Melanie Bumpus at Alabama said this: Anderson's work goes beyond the game, offering thoughtful insights into the societal issues that shape the South. That's key. That's important. Archie grew up in a time in the South when Mississippi was not necessarily smiled upon, and as a state. And because of that, his coming into his own as a major football player and a really good guy, that was important for the state of Mississippi and in many ways for the state of the South. Here are 3 comments that have been made about this particular book. First is the Publishers Weekly. It says, Anderson, an accomplished storyteller, writes about the Manning football legacy, warts and all, with style and verve, backed by an abundance of research and scholarship. That's right. The Library Journal said this to say, an expertly written impressionistic account of the first family of football. Also correct. And then finally, Paul Feinbaum, who's something of a character in his own right, major ESPN college football analyst, said this about the book. This is one of the most beautifully written and memorable books I've read in years. Stunningly spectacular. I couldn't put it down. Once again, Lars Anderson has shown why he is one of the seminal sports writers of this generation. The Mannings is an absolute masterpiece. You know, it all starts with Archie. Today, he's 76 years old. He's lived all 76 of his years with honesty, integrity, and a very humble nature. His late father advised him to always be the nice guy, and Archie always has been. Today, he is a multimillionaire, and he's patriarch to an extremely talented and personable family, now 3 generations deep. But there was a time when Archie was hardly rich. This scrawny, red-headed, freckle-faced young boy was all arms and legs and had a dream. Let's go back to the beginning and watch him grow up, first into a man, and then into the head of a truly remarkable family. Archie is really Elisha Archibald Manning Jr., but everybody calls him Archie. This is his Ole Miss football portrait when he went to the university. Most fans remember him best when he played quarterback at college. But whether you're an Ole Miss fan or not, most people remember his career being pretty spectacular because he literally transformed quarterback play there. And we were to find later, he was going to transform quarterback play even in the pros. He was the first Ole Miss player to have his number retired. And to date, there have been 4, including his son Eli's number 10 jersey. He was an All-American quarterback. He had a very unusual playing style that excited the fans and frustrated the teams they were playing against. Archie was actually better making plays out of the pocket than in it. In other words, his scrambling was absolutely amazing to watch, and it's nothing short of legendary. But his story doesn't begin at Ole Miss. Instead, his story begins in Drew, Mississippi, a tiny spot in the road where he was born. The whole town is 1.1 square miles in size. Nearby, there are plantations and large farms, and only 9 miles away is Mississippi's state penitentiary, known as Parchman. It's located in southern Sunflower County on the route between Jackson, Mississippi and Clarksdale. And in the 2020 census, Drew's population was listed as 1,852 people. Archie loved baseball, just like lots of the Drew kids did. And the St. Louis Cardinals, that was his team. And he and his daddy would listen to the games on transistor radios. He also loved the fact that his dad took the sporting news. This was his favorite reading material. His father, early on, gave Archie 4 rules when it came to sports. Never quit, never talk back to the coach, never badmouth another player, and never boast about anything. In other words, always be the nice guy. Archie was born on May 19th, 1949 in Drew, and the 1950 census stated that Drew's population was 1,681, so it grew a little bit between that time and 2020. Social life in Drew centered around the church, and that's pretty true for most of the small Delta towns. The Baptist and the Methodist churches were built right next to each other, and the Mannings happened to be Baptists. When Archie was 14 years old, he was recognized for never missing Sunday school for 728 Sundays. That's pretty good. Rick Cleveland quoted Archie in August 2024. When Archie described good old Drew, he said, "Drew was a little bitty place, much like Andy Griffith's Mayberry. For me, Drew was perfect. You literally could walk all over town. As kids, we did. Back then, Drew had 4 traffic lights, including the one out on Highway 49. But 2 of the 3 in town had only red and green lights, no yellow, no caution light. Now, I've never seen anything like that anywhere else." Archie has never forgotten where he came from. He had warm memories of his childhood in that tiny town where everyone knew everyone. Though tiny, Drew had some claims to fame, including a railroad that W.C. Handy made famous. A park now stands on the site of that railroad depot. Here's the sign, and this is what the sign says. Incorporated on September 23rd, 1899, at the former site of the Yazoo Delta Railroad and Depot. The railroad has been immortalized in the song The Yellow Dog Blues, composed by W.C. Handy. This park dedicated in May 1988. When Archie was growing up there, Drew was relatively prosperous for a Delta town, a town of its size. Work and play there revolved around those neighboring farms and the high school. Archie continued in his description, quote, "We had 2 cafes and neither one was open past 6 or 7 in the evening. So if you wanted to eat out after that, you went to Cleveland, 18 miles away. You wouldn't believe it if you went to Drew now, but we had a main street that was really active. I mean, every storefront was occupied and busy. On Saturday nights when the farmers and the country folk came to town, it was like Mardi Gras. It was a happening." This is a map of Mississippi, and it shows in red Sunflower County. So you can see where Drew is located in terms of the state as a whole. This map is actually of Sunflower County, and the blue line points straight across to little old Drew, Mississippi. As time passed and Archie grew up, Drew had more to be proud of than just a blues song. Drew had a hero that they shared with the rest of the state and much of the Southeast United States. When the new century was turning, Mississippi's largest newspaper, the Clarion Ledger, conducted a poll asking the readers who was Mississippi's all-time greatest athlete over the previous 100 years. Archie Manning won by 70+% of the vote. By the time the year 2000 dawned, Archie was easily recognized just about anywhere he went. But in spite of the fame and his growing fortune, Archie Manning never missed a chance to speak kindly about that hometown. Here he says, "We had 4 gas stations, 2 drugstores, and both of those had soda fountains. We had 1 barber shop with 3 barbers, one with hands that really shook. When it was your turn, you went to the first open chair. I always kind of prayed I wouldn't get the one with the shaky hands." This is a picture of Archie when he has entered high school. And you can see his ears and freckles, and if it were in color, he'd be red hair. By the time he got to high school, he was already recognized as a promising athlete in 3 sports: baseball, basketball, and football. Fans took notice. Coaches took notice too. One was Coach Paul Pounds. He said this in an interview with Cleveland in 2024. "I thought the first thing everybody thought the first time they saw that skinny red-headed kid. I thought, this kid is a natural. I didn't know the half of it. He moved to Drew in 1966, and he was the high school football coach. He coached Archie during Archie's senior season in high school. When he saw Archie the first time, Archie was just shooting baskets in the school gymnasium. Pound said that maybe Archie weighed 150 pounds, and he's well over 6 feet tall. This is Archie's father. This is the senior, Elisha Archibald Manning, who was known as Buddy. He was the youngest of 5 Manning siblings who threw in their lot together and moved from Crystal Springs to Drew to make lives. Buddy was the only one of the siblings who didn't farm. Instead, he managed a farm supply business and he repaired farm machinery. He moved his family into a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home right across the street from Drew High School. And that's where he and his wife, Jan Nelson, reared Pam, Archie's sister, and her younger brother, Archie. Buddy and Archie's mom was called Sis by everybody, and they were his absolute biggest fans. Sis never missed a game in any sport that Archie was playing. Buddy had to miss some because of the business. Buddy was, according to Archie, a workaholic. So he often missed the opening minutes of the local games, but even though, the away games, he couldn't make it, he couldn't go. In his stead, one of the siblings, Archie's Uncle Peyton, was the one who drove Archie to the away games and made sure that he met his sports obligations. Buddy had been a standout offensive lineman for Drew High School when he was in school there. He suffered a stroke in his later years, and his health was in decline. Archie said this about the group, the family group. I had 2 aunts, Mamie and Lucy, and 2 uncles, Peyton and Andy Frank. None of the 4 of them ever got married. They lived on a farm out from Drew. They were farmers, not planters. They worked. My uncles were sweet guys who loved sports. My Aunt Mamie had dementia early on, and my Aunt Lucy, who was outspoken and farm girl tough, took care of Mamie and her brothers. She ran the show. She was a tough old bird. None of them ever missed any of my games. The farmland, where they sort of set their lives, in Sunflower, is beautiful, rich farmland. Archie loved that farm, and he loved spending time there. One of the reasons, they had a peach basketball goal, and so he could practice shooting when he was there. That basketball practice paid off. During high school, Archie Manning averaged over 20 points per game. He never forgot their kindness, and when his second son was born, he named him after his Uncle Peyton. Besides basketball, Archie also ran track fast, and his batting average in baseball was .425. A scout from the Braves wanted to sign him right out of high school. He earned a total of 15 letters at Drew, and along the way was the class valedictorian. This is the picture of Drew High School right across the street from Archie's home. He would stand in his front yard when he was just a toddler watching students play sports. He said later that one of his earliest memories was longing to get old enough and big enough to go across the street and play ball with the rest of them. Because of Drew's small size and the Manning's house's proximity to the high school, many of their neighbors were either coaches or teachers there. Buddy would make friends with them all, and he often could be seen cooking steaks for them on Saturday nights. One of the great gifts that Archie Manning was given as a child was his family's friendship to everyone else. He was often invited to go with the coaches when they went to scout games, And he learned a lot about football tactics from those coaches at those games. Steve Clark, one of Archie's best and longtime friends, said this to Cleveland, quote, "When we were growing up, we didn't do much of anything except play ball, football, basketball, and baseball. Archie was really good at all of them. He was gifted, yes, but he worked at it. And man, he loved to compete." Archie's childhood home was a very modest home. It had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, as I said earlier, and Archie's mother lived there in that home until she died in 2000. It was home. As he grew in fame and, of course, in fortune, Archie kept wanting to build her a bigger house or do something, and she would have none of it. She said, "No, this is where you grew up. This is where I was happily married. I'm staying right here." Archie learned from both of his parents the value of personal discipline and the importance of a routine. Those lessons have stayed with him his entire life, and he has passed them on to his sons and to his grandson. Archie never missed a Cub Scout meeting. He took dance lessons. He took piano lessons. And on Sunday afternoons, when the piano recital rolled around, Archie would play in the piano recital. He was playing touch football one Sunday afternoon and kind of forgot about the recital. His father was not happy because his father did not want to go to the piano recital anyway, and he ended up having to go and listen to everybody else's kids play, and his kid didn't show. He physically punished Archie for that, and that was a very rare occurrence. Archie also won something which I think is perfectly delicious. He won the Junior Achievement Award given by the Drew Garden Club ladies for an arrangement of flowers that he had put together. Archie was recruited by several universities. I'm remembering Mississippi State wanted him, Tulane wanted him, but he wanted Ole Miss. Many don't realize that Archie was really talented in baseball, enough so that he was drafted 4 times by the major leagues. Coach Johnny Vaught is a legend in his own right at the University of Mississippi. And when Archie came in and started working out as a freshman, Vaught watched Archie very closely right from the beginning, and he told a few others that Archie was the most exciting young player he had ever seen. What impressed Vaught the most was what Archie did when a play broke down. Remember, I said he was better at scrambling than he was just sitting back and passing? That improvisation convinced Vaught that Archie was a once-in-a-generation quarterback. In August of 1969, Archie went home to stay for 2 weeks before returning to Ole Miss for the start of the fall practice. He went to a wedding with his mother and his sister, and then left them at the reception because he wanted to go home and spend some time with his dad. On that day, Archie Manning's life changed forever. This is the newspaper account of Archie Manning's father's death. And it's a very sad, it's a delicately written piece, but it's very sad. Archie was 20 years old, and suddenly his father is dead, and he's the head of the household. He found his dad's body when he came home early, and he also found careful instructions left by his dad of where all of his important papers were, including a will that he had only recently made. Archie made the decision that he would quit school, return to Drew to live, and get a job coaching. Sis, his mother, would have none of it. She insisted that he was going back to Oxford and he was going to live his life. she would be just fine. Archie had no choice but to do just that. You know, he found more at Ole Miss than just a great education and an exciting collegiate football career. He also found true love. Archie and Olivia Williams first met while they were going to Ole Miss. But Olivia had watched him play basketball against her high school back in Philadelphia, Mississippi, during high school. She called him a bully back then because he scored so many points against her friends. They began as friends and didn't really pursue a relationship until the spring of their freshman year, following a dance mixer put on by Olivia's sorority. After they dated for 3 years, the pair married in 1971. This is a picture of an advertisement of the Williams Brothers General Merchandise store in Philadelphia, Mississippi, since 1907. Her grandfather, Olivia's grandfather, and great-uncle had founded that store. And in 1939, it was featured in an issue of National Geographic. Olivia's father also owned a Standard Oil distributorship and a cotton gin. All 3 of Olivia and Archie's sons worked at Williams Brothers during their childhood, and the store is currently run by Olivia's brother. The future couple actually met when Olivia and some friends gave Archie and another friend a lift into town from campus. He had just pledged Sigma Nu and his head was shaved. And as he says, he's quoted in the book as saying, "I wasn't looking for girls." He was not very happy with the way he looked. It was the spring after that, when that red hair had grown out, that Olivia's sorority, Delta Gamma, had a mixer in the spring with the Sigma Nus, and the romance began. The 1969 football season was amazing for Ole Miss fans. A highlight came when ABC announced it would broadcast its first ever primetime SEC college football game. The date, October 4th. The teams, Ole Miss in Tuscaloosa against the juggernaut, Alabama. Sitting in the stands watching that game was a 15-year-old football fan who would play a major role in the story of the Manning football family. That kid's name was David Cutcliffe. On the Alabama sideline, Coach Bear Bryant was fuming and fascinated. Archie was different from any quarterback the Bear had ever seen. Alabama won the game 33-32, and the Bear never forgot that first encounter with Archie. In that game, Archie set a new SEC record for most total yards in a game. He got 540, a record that stood for 4 decades. He completed 33 of 52 passes, 436 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He ran 15 times at scrambling for 104 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he did it on national television. Coach Bear Bryant would say this later: he, Archie Manning, is better than the best quarterback I've ever had at Alabama. He dominates a game better than Namath did. As the season moved on, and Archie kept doing wonderful things on the field, colorful buttons began popping up all over campus, then all over Oxford, and then well beyond. Archie was their hero and their hope for the future. The big game was coming up: Ole Miss versus Tennessee. Tennessee had won the game the year before, major rivalry, beating Ole Miss 31-0. Tennessee linebacker Steve Kiner made a mistake. He told a reporter that Ole Miss didn't have horses on their team, they just had mules. It was a statement he would regret. So did the overly confident Tennessee fans who made their own buttons that read, Archie Who? 1969, Ole Miss played Tennessee. Ole Miss won that game 38-0. And Archie was named SEC Back of the Week. A postal clerk in Magnolia, Mississippi, wrote The Ballad of Archie Who, which the Rebel Rousers recorded on the Hotty Toddy label, and that record sold over 35,000 copies. Archie Manning was now a legitimate folk hero. That led to an invitation to play in the 1970 Sugar Bowl. Ole Miss won it 27 over Arkansas 22. In that game, Archie passed for 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Archie, to date, remains the only Manning to have played in the Sugar Bowl. He not only played, he was outstanding, and he was named the Sugar Bowl Most Valuable Player. Earning that recognition was a tremendous honor because it validated the hopes that the fan base had put in that scrawny, red-headed, skinny kid from Drew, Mississippi. What would the 1970 football season hold for Archie's Army? September 14, 1970, Sports Illustrated's cover features Archie Manning. Archie had won the Walter Camp Memorial Award at the end of his 1969 season. That award's given to the outstanding college football quarterback. As a junior, Archie had set 27 school and conference records. What might his senior year hold? As it turns out, 1970 was a real mixed bag for Archie. On November 1st, Coach Vaught had a serious heart attack. The very next week, Olivia was elected unopposed as the homecoming queen. On November 7th, Ole Miss faced Houston to play its homecoming game for his and her senior year. During the third quarter, Archie was tackled, and for the first time, he didn't get back up. It soon became obvious to the fans that he had broken his left forearm, which was the same arm he had fractured in the 11th grade. This picture shows him recovering at Baptist Hospital from that broken arm. It was a real tragedy. Even during high school, Archie had been known for his brittle bones. In the 8th grade, he broke an ankle. In the 9th grade, he broke his right arm playing football. In the 11th grade, he broke that left arm playing football. He spent a total of 8 days at Baptist Hospital and played the last 2 games of the season wearing an enormous cast. Ole Miss lost anyway, and Archie was later quoted as saying, "I just couldn't get that old hospital bed off my back." But as I said, it was a mixed bag because an engagement was announced. The Williams-Manning families were going to unite. Archie and Olivia were to marry. They had been engaged since July, when Archie, always the nice guy, had asked her father for her hand. Her father was thrilled. He was a real football nut himself, and so he appreciated what Archie brought to the game. They decided, though, the couple, not to announce their intentions until that football season was over. They had become a very beloved couple on campus. Their wedding was the social event in Philadelphia, Mississippi that year. This is a wedding portrait of the two of them. They married on January 21st, 1971. They were married in the First Baptist Church in downtown Philadelphia, Olivia's hometown. The reception had to be held at the National Guard Armory because the church was too small. So was the country club. The couple honeymooned in Acapulco and arrived back home just 24 hours before the opening of the NFL draft. Archie got the worst sunburn of his redheaded life. So bad that when he came home from his honeymoon, he couldn't even wear shoes. The draft was wonderful and their life was kick-started. Newlyweds, he's new to the NFL, and life is going to be interesting. From the period 1971 to 1984, first of all, in 71, he was the New Orleans Saints' first-round NFL draft pick. He had a very impressive sophomore season with the most pass attempts for the whole league. He ended up playing 10 seasons with the Saints, starting most of the games. He scored 115 touchdowns, and he had 21,700 plus passing yards. From 1982 to 1984, first he was traded to the Houston Oilers and then to the Minnesota Vikings. When newlywed Archie signed his first contract with the New Orleans Saints, it was for 5 years and it was for $410,000, which at the time was the richest rookie deal in NFL history. It was 1983 when Archie realized that his right elbow had simply given out. He decided to retire from football. At the time, his 3 boys were 11, 9, and 4, and they were frankly kind of happy to have their daddy back home. Here's Archie by the numbers. At Ole Miss as quarterback from 68 to 70. He was the SEC Player of the Year in 69, first team All-American 69, fourth place Heisman Trophy runner-up 69, third place Heisman Trophy runner-up 70, College Football Hall of Fame 89, Rebel jersey number retired 89. With the Saints, he quarterbacked from 71 to 82. He was the second pick in the first round in 1971. He played in the Pro Bowl in 78 and 79, and he was inducted into the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame in 89. He set Saints passing records. In 1978, he was named the NFL's most valuable player, and he was the first player in Saints history to be inducted into the Louisiana Superdome's Wall of Fame. In due time, Archie and Olivia started their family, and over time they welcomed 3 sons. Olivia really wanted a little girl at some point, but that wasn't the way it worked out. So they had 3 boys, and those boys grew up loving football just like their dad and mom did. And they loved it from the perspective of fans. They loved it from the perspective of actually playing the game. And they loved it, in some instances, as coaches. They were often at games wearing their dad's jerseys, showing who their dad was. And it was really very cute. Olivia was often asked what it was like to have 3 boys, and how did the boys get along, and what did she hope for them for the future. I thought the best thing that she said was a description he gave in an article in livingneworleans.com in 2012. She said, "Just normal, happy kids, I hope. And that's kind of the way I look at my boys. They all like to get together and laugh, and Cooper is the ringleader in that. He doesn't let anybody get too serious about themselves. You might win a Super Bowl, but he's going to bring you back down to earth. They're just good, sweet, kind, generous boys." Let's take a look at the boys. This is Cooper. Cooper's the eldest, the firstborn son. He was born in 1974. He weighed 12 pounds and he was 22 inches long. He was the largest of her 3 babies, and he would grow up to be the ringleader of this second generation of Mannings. He still is. Archie said this when Cooper was born: "I don't know whether the weight is an NFL record, but maybe Cooper and I can go in as a package deal when my contract is up for negotiations. I weighed 8.5 pounds and was 23 inches long, and I was all arms and legs. But this little dude is big. You can spot him in the nursery 100 yards away." Cooper's described by everyone as a smooth talker who would never let anybody get too big for his britches, especially his little brothers. He was always lighthearted. He's a quite gifted prankster, and basically he was the fun kid. He was also a very talented athlete. He had, as they say, good hands, and he grew up to be a really fine receiver. When they were boys, Cooper would hold Peyton down and force him to recite every school in the SEC before he would let him get up. Later, Peyton would do the same to younger brother Eli. Let's look at Peyton. Peyton was born in 1976. 2 years later, he weighed 12 pounds even. He was intense even when he was a toddler. He loved playing quarterback. He developed really remarkable skills very early on. And his favorite receiver, his older brother Cooper. Peyton was focused from his earliest years on learning everything he could possibly learn about playing quarterback. He was intensely competitive. He studied game films for hours and hours, not just his own, but also the old game films of his daddy. He was always over-prepared. This is a picture that I love. It was taken in 1989, and it shows Archie and Peyton taking a look at the clippings on Archie's mother's home in Drew. Every important moment in Archie's career, she would frame and put on her wall. And so it was just a gallery, a history of Archie's career. Of the three boys, Peyton was the son most focused on their dad's career. He studied everything he could get his hands on that would tell him how his dad had played the game. Archie's mom, Sis, would tell him from memory what she could about how her son had played. Peyton loved looking at the clippings. He loved looking at the game films. He loved talking to his dad and to his grandmother and asking questions about what he was seeing or what they were saying. Third born was Eli. He was born in 1981, the smallest. He weighed 9 pounds, 14 ounces. He's nearly 7 years younger than Cooper. He was labeled from the beginning as the quiet one by his brothers and by his parents. He didn't even speak until he was 3. And then his first word was ball. The age difference gave Eli a completely different perspective on his dad's football career because he was 4 when his dad retired from the NFL. He never had the practice experiences at the Superdome, for example, when his dad was playing, that his 2 brothers had. When Peyton left for college, Eli was the only child at home for most of 5 years. Olivia took it as her opportunity to really bond with this, her baby. She would take him out to dinner once a week, just the 2 of them, so that they could have time together. This is a picture of Eli and Olivia competing in a pancake cooking contest. And Eli said in an interview to the New York Times in 2008, quote, "Growing up, we would have been lost and clueless without her. She, Olivia, ran the household and was our biggest supporter." But the next chapter, this second generation of Mannings, That chapter was written at Isadore Duncan Private Secular School in New Orleans, known as the Newman School. Against the backdrop of Archie Saint's career, the Manning sons first exhibited their remarkable athletic skills at home in New Orleans. Cooper was the first to enroll, and he wanted to be a quarterback. He didn't do very well in that position, and so he switched to wide receiver, and there he excelled. Peyton joined Newton's varsity squad in 1991. He was first-string quarterback. He did very, very well. At Newman, Cooper wore his dad's Ole Miss number, 18. Peyton wore his dad's high school number, 14. Cooper and Peyton entertained high school fans during the 1991 football season as probably the most prolific pass and catch duo in Louisiana history. Cooper was named the team's most valuable player at the end of that year. Both brothers were sure of one thing: they would go to college together and play together once again. And once again, college coaches were taking notice. Cooper signed a letter of intent to play with Ole Miss in February of his senior year at Newman. Archie and Olivia were thrilled that their firstborn was going to be a Rebel. Cooper had begun noticing some numbness in his right hand and arm while he was still a senior in high school. They went to the doctor, and he was diagnosed with an injured ulnar nerve. They did a little minor surgery, and he was cleared to play football at Ole Miss. And during his first season there, though, his arm was giving him even more trouble. The coaches became concerned and pulled him out of practice. Archie, hearing that, pulled him out of school to take him to Baylor Medical Center and to Mayo Clinic for testing. Cooper was diagnosed with a congenital condition called spinal stenosis. He could never play football again. The doctors at Baylor Medical Center told him that just one wrong hit from the time he was playing Pee-wee football till today could have left him permanently paralyzed. Ole Miss announced on September 28, 1992, that Cooper's football career had come to an end, and it was an extremely promising career. Archie Manning said this at the time, quote, "It's been a tough week for us. Our concern is for Cooper. What hurts the most is knowing how happy he's been the last 2 months just being in the Ole Miss family and being a player there. It's been tough on him. It's been tough on us. But the paramount thing is to get the problem corrected for him to carry on a normal life." Cooper went on to remain at Ole Miss, and he graduated with a business degree there. He had surgery, which was successful, though with complications. But in the end, he was declared safe, but not ever to play football again. In due time, Eli grew up and enrolled at Newman. 1996, it was his turn. He proudly wore number 18, and he broke high school records with his dynamic skills. His stats from Isadore Newman High School, I mean, they're amazing. You can see them: All-American, All-State, All-District, USA Today Player of the Year for Louisiana, earned 4 letters in football, 4 in basketball, and 2 in baseball. Sounds like his daddy, doesn't it? In senior season, he led his team to an 11-1 record, went to the state quarterfinals. He completed 59% of his passes. He had 81 touchdowns. He averaged 17 yards per completed pass in his senior year and 10 yards on his career. His record in high school was second to none. He, the third Manning, was a natural athlete and a super quarterback. What he wasn't was focused. Eli did wonderful things on the field, but at the time his heart wasn't in the game. That would come later. Meantime, while Archie and Eli and Peyton were all doing their thing, Peyton decided he needed to play college ball, and he wasn't going to play it at Ole Miss. There are a variety of reasons why. Probably the main reason is that 15-year-old football fan who was sitting in the stands watching Archie play, named David Cutcliffe. David Cutcliffe was coaching at Tennessee, and Peyton and David absolutely hit it off. Ole Miss fans were not happy when the second son didn't go to Ole Miss. Tennessee fans were thrilled. Archie and Olivia just wanted their son to live his life and have fun. Cooper, remember, he's always the prankster. He's always the one who's lighthearted. When Cooper realized there was real backlash on his campus, on Ole Miss, against his brother, who was now a Tennessee volunteer, he didn't do anything but get a Tennessee volunteer bright orange cap, and he wore it all over the Ole Miss campus. If his brother was a volunteer, Cooper was a volunteer. Even far away at Tennessee, Peyton was not exempt from Cooper's pranking. With a Vols baseball cap on, Cooper becomes Peyton. He's a Peyton double. Deep in the night before a big game, more than once, Cooper would go make the rounds of the bars, and he would impersonate his brother. The fans would wonder what he was doing out, because he was supposed to be in lockdown for the big game. And he would say, for example, well, we're just playing Kentucky, no big deal. And then they thought it was Peyton. So in 1998, Peyton was the number one draft choice for the NFL, and he was selected by the Indianapolis Colts. During his NFL career, Peyton played for the Colts and for the Denver Broncos. He won Most Valuable Player 5 times, most of any player in NFL history. He won Super Bowl 2006 with the Colts, and he won Super Bowl 2015 with the Broncos. Stellar career. In 2000, the youngest member of the second Manning generation selected the University of Mississippi, the university of his dad, his mom, and his brother Cooper. While at Ole Miss, Eli set school records, including 10,000 plus career passing yards and 81 touchdowns. Ole Miss had a 10-3 record his senior year and won the Cotton Bowl. Jim and I were at that Cotton Bowl, and he was spectacular. In 2004, Eli was the number one draft choice in the NFL draft and was chosen by the New York Giants. This is a picture of him with his family when he becomes a Giant. The following year, Brother Peyton's Tennessee football jersey, number 16, was retired. Shows the age difference of these kids. And then in October 2021, Eli's Ole Miss jersey, number 10, was retired at Ole Miss. Proud parents. Archie and Olivia had created a family dynasty indeed. And there was a third generation waiting in the wings. That third generation is full of some very interesting grandchildren for Olivia and for Archie. Olivia was discussing her grandchildren in 2012, and she said this: Cooper's children are May, at the time 9, Arch, at the time 7, and Hyde, at the time 6. Eli's little girl is Ava, and Peyton's twins are Marshall and Mosley. And Ava and the twins are 9 months old and 10 days apart. So one day I had 3 grandchildren. The next day I had 6. The name that the grandchildren call her is Go-Go because they say she's always on the go. This is a picture of Cooper, the eldest son's family. His son Hyde is on the left, then his wife Ellen, then Cooper standing proud and happy of his bunch, their daughter May, and then their son Arch. Cooper married Ellen in 1999. 3 years later, they had their first child, a daughter they named May. In 2006, son Arch was born, followed by Hyde, their second son. All of them love sports, and all of them are very good at it. Hyde played center at Newman when Arch was quarterback at Newman, so he was able to snap the ball to his brother. May was a superstar volleyball player, like her mother had been. She led her team to the state championship, and then she enrolled and played at the University of Virginia. It's Arch who has carried on the football tradition for the Mannings. When he was at Newman, he was known for 3 things: his arm strength, his pinpoint accuracy, and his running ability. He became the #1 recruit in the country. No surprise there. He surpassed at Newman both Eli's school passing yards and Peyton's school touchdown record. On June 22nd, 2023, Arch shocked many fans when he decided to go to the University of Texas. The whole recruitment process had been very difficult on Cooper and on his son. Arch was given mega media attention. He was a spectacular high school player, but everything was put on his back to carry the Manning tradition forward. His younger brother decided not to play football, wasn't interested at all. He did, however, go to the University of Texas, just like his older brother, but they were friends, very close friends. They shared friends. They had lunch often, but the worlds were completely different. Cooper was especially concerned that his son get through the height of recruitment and settle down and just have a good college experience. Eli Manning, too, was concerned. In 2022, he said this in an interview to People magazine: "I'm just proud of Arch on how he's handled this whole situation. I know there's been a lot of pressure on him since he was a freshman in high school and was the starting quarterback. He's broken all my records and Peyton's records." Will Archie's grandson break even more records at the college level and perhaps in the NFL? Only time will tell. Archie and Olivia have embraced being grandparents. They have loved it very much. I think I need to stop here and say something about this photograph. You'll see Olivia is right up there. She's tall. I had always thought from all of the pictures I had seen of Olivia Manning that she was petite, short. She's not. She stands 5 feet 11 inches tall. That's where the boys got the rest of their height. You know, many people thought that the Mannings would, when he retired, that they would move back to Mississippi because that's home turf for them. But that wasn't to be. Their hearts belonged to New Orleans. Olivia said this in 2012: "We could have gone back to Mississippi, but our family wanted to come visit us here." Let's think: Philadelphia, Mississippi, New Orleans, Louisiana, Drew, Mississippi, New Orleans, Louisiana. Yes, the family wanted to come visit them. We love New Orleans. New Orleans has really been good to us too. The years when Archie played with the Saints were interesting. They were lean years as far as wins go, but it's something we would never trade. Even though Drew, Mississippi is a tiny little Delta town, it has recognized its hero. This is the sign that declares it's Manning Boulevard. He's a famous hometown hero. Oxford, Mississippi, and the Ole Miss campus also have honored the Mannings. The Ole Miss campus Speedland, 18 in most parts of the campus, and Manning Way in Oxford. There are some areas on campus that have a speed limit of 10. That's to honor Eli. They've remembered both of their favorite sons. In 2003, the Mannings established the Manning Family Foundation. They had made a great deal of money. They wanted to give back. They wanted to pay it forward. They wanted to help their home state of Mississippi and also other places that they had loved, like New Orleans. That foundation has raised millions of dollars promoting research and furthering education at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson. Archie said in 2014, "We feel a great love for the state of Mississippi and the people of Mississippi, but also an indebtedness. The way people treated us through the years, all the way back to my Ole Miss days, through my Saints days, and through our life, there's a need here, and it's something we feel like we can give back to enlighten others." This is the Manning Foundation mission statement, quote, "To support charitable and/or educational purposes, specifically to encourage basic research and development of new concepts and technology related to the prevention of blindness and the cure of diseases of the human eye, as well as research and help for intellectual and developmental disabilities, with emphasis toward helping and advancing such research." The Mannings have, as I said, given literally millions of dollars to a variety of communities, nonprofits, and other worthy entities. Their generosity is extraordinary and deeply appreciated. In spite of the pressures through the years, the Manning family has maintained its home base in New Orleans. Olivia said once, "I love New Orleans. The city has so much to offer. We came right here from out of college and getting married, so we've been here 40 years. I always kind of wondered if we'd go back to Mississippi, but as you know, this is a hard place to live." This is a very recent picture. As I told you at the beginning, they're both actually now 76 years old. Manning, Archie, the patriarch, was voted Mississippi's athlete of the 20th century, the most beloved player in Saints history, with the worst record of any NFL quarterback. He's the father of Peyton, Eli, and Cooper, grandfather to 9, including Arch, a budding superstar at Texas, and most importantly, husband now of 53 years to Olivia, his Ole Miss homecoming queen and sweetheart. In May of last year, they were 75. This year, they're 76. Through all the years, Archie has remained what his father had hoped, the nice guy. He and his family have given back to the causes and to the places that meant the most to them. Today, home base is a condo on St. Charles that they moved to several years ago. Archie has difficulty walking now. He has to use a cane or a walker. He has severe neuropathy, and he has just a lot of difficulty getting around. Even so, he and Olivia remain as active as they possibly can. Those who have watched the Manning Dynasty develop would expect nothing less.